Welcome to my new untitled news series. Firstly, let me say this. This channel is getting close to almost 100 subscribers, and that is a small number compared to many other big tech channels, but that's still so many people. So, thank you. Next, I want to make more news videos like this. So, if you have any suggestions to improve these videos, leave a comment or message me personally if you know me. So, let's get started. The first story is about Apple and WWDC. So, 2 days ago, Apple held their annual WWDC event, the Worldwide Developer Conference. And at this event, Apple talks about their improvements to software and also announced new models of their MacBook laptops and new Mac computers. So, I won't talk about all the details, but I'll talk about the highlights and some new features that they announced for iOS, iPadOS, macOS, etc. And if you want more information about this, I will make a separate video explaining all the features that Apple announced for their software. So let me know if you want that in the comments below. So let's start. There are many new features that Apple added to iOS. Firstly, you can have widgets now, and they also added something called an app library. It's not an app drawer like Android, but it's similar. All your apps on your iPhone will be organized into categories, and you can access them by swiping to the right of your home screen. And they're also adding picture-in-picture, just like Android. Is iOS becoming Android? Okay, no. But these are important features that iOS didn't have until now. And it is good to see that Apple is finally adding them. Okay, let's talk about iPadOS, the version of iOS for iPads. There's a really cool new feature called Scribble. If you have an Apple Pencil, you can use it to write anywhere you can type. So let's say you want to search something, and you can just write it with the Apple Pencil instead of typing it. And you can do this everywhere on your iPad. You can even copy your handwritten notes and paste them somewhere else as text. That is so cool in my opinion. And all the other new features from iOS 14 are also in the new version of iPadOS. And next, about macOS. The biggest update to macOS is its design. This new design to macOS will make it look similar to iOS and iPadOS. They're changing the icons, the notification panel, the dock, and more. And there is now also a translator feature built directly into Safari. So this enables Safari to translate web pages from a different language into English. And there is so much more to talk about, but I want to talk about the biggest announcement in the event. There have been rumors since 2012 that Apple is working on their own CPUs for their computers. And 2 years ago, Apple tested their A12X CPU in the iPad Pro and compared it against the CPU in their MacBook Pro laptop. And the A12X CPU from the iPad was only 8% less powerful than the CPU in the MacBook. The CPU in the MacBook Pro was an Intel i7. That is a high-end CPU. So this gave Apple the confidence to shift to their own CPUs in their Mac computers. And that means they will stop using Intel CPUs altogether, and that is a massive change. These new processors will be similar to the processors in iPhones and iPads. And Apple is doing this so they can have full control of every part of all their products. By doing this, Apple can perfectly optimize all their devices and make them work with the best performance. But this change won't happen instantly. And that is why Apple will still continue to make Intel CPUs for at least 2 more years. That is how long Apple is expecting it will take for developers to port their software from Intel CPUs to their own custom CPUs. But we still don't know a lot about these CPUs, like how will they perform when compared to the latest Intel CPUs or even compared to AMD CPUs. We just have to wait and see. The next topic is Qualcomm. So they just announced a new Snapdragon CPU, the Snapdragon 690. This is the first properly mid-range 5G chip. This is big news because until now, all Snapdragon 5G CPUs are high-end or upper mid-range CPUs. This new Snapdragon 690 is the next version of Snapdragon 675. That is the CPU in the Redmi Note 7 Pro from last year. So this new CPU is an 8nm chip and has 8 cores. 2 high performance cores and 6 efficiency low performance cores. Qualcomm says this CPU can record up to 4K HDR video and supports a single 48 megapixel camera or 2 cameras, one 32 megapixel and one 16 megapixel. It even supports high refresh rate displays. That means phones with this CPU can have 120 Hz display like the Poco X2, and it even supports 2K displays, much higher resolution than 1080p, but it can't support a 2K 120 Hz display. That's alright though, because it's just a mid-range CPU, and this is also a 5G chip. Qualcomm says they expect this CPU to be used in phones under $150 or $300. That is around 20,000 rupees. But it's still not as powerful as the 700 series CPUs like the Snapdragon 730 or Snapdragon 765. So the third topic for this video is the boycott China movement. Recently, there's been a massive movement to boycott China after the fights near the Indian-China border. And I want to talk about this from a tech point of view. One main talking point about this is to stop using Chinese apps and products. Government has pointed out 52 Chinese apps and said that we should use caution while using them. So let's look at the list and see why you should stop using them. This is the full list. One common reason you should stop using these apps is because most of them collect your data without even asking you. Like your contacts, your location, which apps you use on your phone, your browsing history. I don't know about you, but I don't want to give data like this to random companies from China without permission. So let's look at the list. UC Browser, ShareIt, and some other browsing apps and sharing apps. These apps ask for every single permission your phone can have, like location, contacts, call history, photos, app usage data, etc. Seriously, why do browsers need my call history? Same with the next few apps. There are many phone cleaner apps on this list. These apps say they clean your files on your phone to reduce storage and make your phone faster. But when I searched for one of these apps, I found 5 apps that have the same name. Tell me which one of these is the real do cleaner. And again, these apps want your location, contacts, camera, permission to change system settings. What? Are they trying to clean my phone or hack it? And they don't even do anything either. Most phones these days have a storage setting in the settings. And you can even clean your phone from here. And don't say they make your phone faster. They don't. The phone can manage apps in your RAM by itself, and if you keep cleaning the RAM, your phone uses more battery because it needs to launch these apps again and again, and that takes more power than just keeping apps in the background. Next, parallel space. Does anybody use this? Most phones already have an app cloning feature. If you're using a Pixel without this feature, why? Get a Samsung, alright? And the big ones, TikTok and Zoom. Every big country is telling people not to use Zoom. UK, US, Canada, Germany, Australia, and many others. All these countries spoke against using Zoom. But Zoom said they fixed all the security issues, so you can use it, right? And they're even going to enable end-to-end encryption for video calls. That means only you and the person you're talking to have access to the video call. But then there are articles about Zoom moving user data through Chinese servers. On accident. Really? How do you do that by accident? They say they're not working for China, but then they do all this. So use this app with caution. And TikTok. Everything I talked about in the previous apps, I can say about this. I don't use it, but I'm not telling you not to use it. It's your choice. But the thing is, it's just not enough. And many don't even care about what apps they use. If you want to seriously boycott China, look at the things you buy. Phones, TVs, computers, most of your technology is made in China. So if you want to start paying attention to what you buy, and if it comes from China, I suggest you start by looking at this picture. It shows where all major phone companies are from and where they make their phones. And also, I'll put links to 2 subreddits about boycotting China and Chinese products. Check them out if you use Reddit. And for the last news topic, let's talk about something less controversial. LG. Before talking about LG, let's talk about folding phones. They're a thing now. Samsung makes a few, Huawei, Xiaomi are working on some, and even Motorola makes folding phones. But they're thick and the displays are fragile and have a coating on top that is very weak. And LGE says they can make stretchable displays by 2025. If you can stretch a display without damaging it, you can have folding phones that are thinner, or you can make it bend in multiple ways. And they say they can make displays that stretch up to 20% of their length. So, what do you think about folding phones? Will this new technology make them better? That's it for this video. And again, let me know if you like this video, and if you have any suggestions or ideas to improve my videos, tell me in the comments. And I talked about China a lot and I did rant a bit, so I'll leave you with this funny video. Thanks for watching.